Hey there, folks. We're live with Pharaoh Skincare, where we're talking about all things skin health. We have today founder Pharaoh. We got Charles Mayfield. We have special guest Katie Braswell. So we're going to go ahead and be talking about here. Let's start off with Charles here. Charles, what are we talking about today?
Thanks, Brian. We're talking about skin health, specifically sort of around children, and I want to take a quick pause to welcome Katie to Tennessee. I've known Katie virtually for a little bit, but her mom and I have worked together. Her mom's a amazing naturopath in North Georgia, has helped a number of my friends and colleagues through some health issues. And, my journey, one of the reasons I launched Pharaoh was really just taking this sort of nutrition, health, paleo lens around what we eat and shining that on skincare. And I thought Katie would add quite a bit to the conversation. She's a mom. Well, I'll let Katie introduce herself.
Yeah.
But yeah, I wanted to welcome her to Tennessee, a recent convert to this part of the world from Colorado, and a lot closer to her mom. I know Sandy will be very happy about that. And but yeah, we're going to talk about sort of skincare through the lens of a child and metabolic dysfunction and very acute and chronic issue. And we're just going to touch on as many bases as we can.
Well, tell us, Katie, what's the problem with how most people are addressing skin health for their children nowadays?
Well, I think the biggest issue is that so commonly, and I deal with this, like even moms in my circle that tend to be more naturally focused or, try to do the right thing and try to, source ingredients that are good for their kids. I think we're kind of in a world now where it's like instant access. It's like they'll go to Target to grab things and then they end up getting, skincare, or they get sunscreen that ended up having, all sorts of carcinogens, toxins, things of that nature that are inherently in our skincare. And then there's some naturally focused brands that end up putting actually a lot of toxic things in the skincare without even knowing. So I have so many friends that use like baby Ganix, for instance, and they're like, oh, well, it's a great product. And then you actually look at the ingredients and realize there's 5 or 10 things listed that are actually carcinogenic and bad for their kids' health. So it's interesting to me, I think, how much there is going on with branding and labeling and how much kind of like greenwashing is taking place. That's why I love products like Charles, because it's so transparent. There's such little ingredients. You can actually pronounce everything in it. It's so much higher quality.
I find I occasionally buy something and then, because I made the buying decision a decade ago, like Burt's Bees, like this is high quality stuff, high quality local stuff. I live near Seattle. And then I look at it years later and realize, wait a minute. And then you look back in history, oh, they got bought by some huge company and now it's full of crap. And like, how do you recommend your clients address the fact that there's an unlimited amount of information and it's always changing? So even if you were right a year ago, you might be putting crap on your kid now. How do you advise people deal with this overwhelming amount of information?
It's tricky. There used to be some great resources like the EWG. I felt like the EWG for a long time was really trustworthy. It's a really easy, user interface. You can scan a barcode, see what all's in it. Unfortunately, the EWG has kind of trended in some different ways politically. So it's a little bit harder now to have some insight because there's some money backed with the companies now. So it's hard to get the true transparency. It's still a great option. I tell my clients that's probably your best bet is to say, okay, what does it rate on their scale? How can you find something that is, pure and, as, clean as possible? The EWG is a great option. To your point, you're exactly right. I used to work in the food industry actually previous to being a nutritionist. And the companies get acquired all the time. So formulations change, like I worked for Kind Bar. What they were able to do pre the acquisition with M&M Mars is totally different, as far as the formulation from what they could do previously. Mainly,
I don't want to hear that. Just lie to me. Tell me if you just buy this one brand name, you'll be safe. You can feed it to your kids. It'll be fine. All I want to live in is a world of simplicity.
Right. I know. It's so sad that that's the way it is, but you really have to. And I have clients say that all the time. They're like, I don't know how to do this the rest of my life, to research every little thing. But unfortunately, it's getting to the point we kind of have to, or, find products like what Charles has, or there's a couple different, baby companies out there that are, mom founded, that stay in their hands, and we know what the products are.
Well, let's go over to Charles here. Charles, you've struggled with in a world of overwhelming choices, how do you decide what to put on your own body, but also your kids' bodies? And then you decided that you were going to solve the problem by starting a company in your free time because, why not? So tell us, like, how are you addressing this problem? Well, even how do you address it in your own life? Let me ask you this. What brand of toothpaste do you use, or do you make your own?
I can't tell you the brand. I could go get it. It's Tom's. I knew it would come to me. I use Tom's, and toothpaste is one of those areas where I've gotten, I think, cleaner, but maybe I should run Tom's by Katie. And
Yeah. I used to use Tom's, and then I thought, no, it has way too much crap in it. I used to make my own toothpaste.
Mm-hmm.
I've made my own deodorant. I've made my own lip balm. And do you know how much work it takes? It takes so much work. I think I made each of these things like twice. And it's like, screw it. I'm going to grab whatever, like go to the most granola store you can find, grab the toothpaste with the fewest ingredients, and call it good, because I don't have time to go spend an hour or 2 hours researching, especially when the brands might change. So actually, I'm really curious now, Katie, what kind of toothpaste do you use, or do you make your own? We know you make your own, just admit it.
I used to, actually, in this like recent transition, it's been hard. To your point, it takes a lot of work. We actually use Braswell and then Himalayan, but Braswell, it's the whole other conversation though, because they do use sugar alcohols to a certain extent, which, there's some conversation. That's how fluoride isn't used, is because they're able to use like erythritol and things like that, which I don't know, I still struggle with, but I'd probably prefer that over fluoride, just in a quick pinch. But I would agree with you, making your own is probably always the way to go.
Baking soda, nothing else, and salt, nothing else ever. Maybe some bentonite clay. Wait, it's getting complicated. Charles, let's talk about Farrow. Let's talk about what you put in Farrow. And you decided to take on these huge, very well-funded companies that have these greenwashed brands that are all about, yay, happy animals that are full of poisons. Talk to us about what you put into Farrow.
Yeah. So just a quick side note, and Katie's in the nutrition world. I sort of came from the nutrition world, and I heard a quote the other day, I think it was from Dr. Mary Kerr, that optimal nutrition hasn't changed in thousands of years. And I would make the same argument around skincare. Now we live a very different life now than we did, 100 or 200 or 1,000 years ago. But just natural ingredients that are preservative free. We're an animal. The skincare market is dominated by seed oils. It's dominated by plant-based oils, and I'm not here to, lash out at shea butter or coconut oil or avocado oil or olive oil or any of these plant-based oils. But, at the end of the day, we're an animal, we're a mammal, we're an omnivore. And so, I had this watershed moment a couple years ago and had some lard laying around and decided to use it. And again, it's amazing how much marketing we are fighting, because you tell someone to put lard on their skin and they lose their minds. And it's almost hyper intuitive, right? It's like, well, how do you think we moisturized our skin 100 years ago, 200 years ago?
Confession, I'm part of the Crisco generation. When I was growing up, like we made cakes and all that, we were used Crisco. I was raised on margarine, healthier than butter. We drank non-fat milk, and that was just normal. That's what I knew. I knew that's what healthy looked like back when there was less information available. And my parents did the best they could with the information they had available. But now you, Charles, were saying that take that pig lard, smear it on yourself, and it's going to be good for you. That's quite the claim. What are you seeing both in your own life, your families, your kids, your clients? What are you seeing the impacts being of using this much more basic stuff? And why is it any lard? Two different questions, I guess. What impacts are you seeing? That's the first question. Like, if you use this, you might experience A, B, and C.
Okay, so my skin actually stays very tacky and moist. The lard, we use tallow as well in our creams, but the lard is, because of the biological similarities between pigs and humans. Lard checks all the boxes. The pH is a balance. The lipid profile is a balance. The ratio of polyunsaturated, saturated, monounsaturated fats, all of that is, which are all critical components to your skin and skin health. I mean, the industry puts all sorts of things in their creams to try and mimic sort of natural pH balanced and natural.
So give us something concrete. What's a change you've seen? Like your skin's more sticky, okay, or more.
I haven't had razor burn in 2 years.
Really?
Not once.
Like with an actual, and use a metal razor, and you're not getting any razor burn?
I use a metal razor. I haven't peeled my skin. I've been sunburned in the last, it was actually a sunburn event, more of an acute issue. I would say razor burn's the same thing. We could talk about acute versus chronic, but yeah, I've had 3 different sunburns. I pay particular attention now, but I haven't peeled in 2 years. My kids, I've had bee stings. I've had scrapes, bumps, any types of abrasions. I've had poison ivy that I resolved poison ivy around my eye. I did this on Instagram probably a month ago. I was out working and got poison ivy around my eye. It resolved in a couple days. On my arms as well. The scarring, I didn't have any scarring from that. And for those that have dealt with poison ivy, you can get pox scars and various things like that. So those are just a couple of, I'm a fairly healthy person. So most of my skin issues are what I would call acute, a sunburn or razor burn, things of that nature. I have seen it with I've got friends with young kids, and, you have babies have diaper rash, eczema, psoriasis, various conditions like that. I've seen those resolve themselves in as little as 24 hours with, just one application. And so, we're getting into the funny part of this. And I know Katie's got plenty of background in this too. It's laughable to me what I'm not allowed to tell people my product might do.
We're about to get canceled. Be careful.
I can't say that it healed. I had to hire an attorney when we launched the company to go through all the language on the website to make sure you don't say these trigger words. So I tell people it feeds your skin. Pharaoh feeds your skin what it wants, what it needs to thrive. Our body wants to be in a homeostasis state of homeostasis. It wants to heal. We just have to give it the tools to do that. And that's what Pharaoh does. It gives you the tools without all the trash.
Beautiful. Katie, let's talk about nutrition and skin conditions. Charles listed off a bazillion, and except for razor burn, which I always assumed was operator error because I'm an idiot, that a lot of those things, we're learning more about how maybe there's a nutrition aspect to getting a sunburn, which sounds insane. Younger me growing up, that's obviously you didn't put on enough sunblock. That's why you got a sunburn. There's just no question. But now people like you are saying something different. What's the latest?
Yeah, it's pretty interesting because I think there's a lot more coming out about sunscreen. That the fact that these carcinogenic sunscreens might have been the culprit all along for melanoma and things kind of trending, or, maybe poor gut health that's then lending itself to these like cancers and things coming out and skin conditions. Now, like with psoriasis, like Charles mentioned, eczema, we see that a lot with kiddos, and especially with, it's like all over their body. Like I have clients that, their little ones have eczema and psoriasis like everywhere behind their knees, kind of like under their neck. And so much of that is diet related. And to your point with the sun, for instance, it's like having strong gut health, having a strong microbiome, harnessing the power of probiotics, and really relying on that is so, critical. Also eating, vitamin D rich foods, spending time out in the sun, using skincare like Charles is mentioning, those are things that are going to really promote strong, a strong microbiome, strong gut health, and overall just a strong disposition in general. So, but yeah, I am proud because I think that's one thing that is kind of hitting the mainstream. Like I have clients that seem to be pretty conventional that are starting to understand, okay, the sunscreen isn't really going to protect their kids, especially these conventional sunscreen that's going to create more of a problem. How can they actually, change their kiddos' diet? How can they stay away from refined sugars? How can they really, build the gut to be reactive, and be protective to the skin as our largest organ as well?
I know a lot of stuff, but some of what I know is completely wrong, but I feel like I know all of it. How can I accurately assess? Like, do I need to look back and say, it's lip balm, this is actually killing me slowly, even though it's a local honey-based whatever thing? How do I know which of the things that I know are just completely wrong? Because it seems like there's these things I just believed in the past fervently that I knew were so true. And then I knew other things. Like for a while, I was that guy brushing my teeth with baking soda and salt, a little bentonite clay, tooth
Right.
powder, man. It was great. I stopped doing it, I think, because it was a hassle. But I knew that was the best thing for a while. Now I know that something else is true.
Right.
How do you help your clients just address how much wrong stuff they know, and that we don't know what is wrong?
Right. It's a delicate balance, because I would say in my personal life, I'm like an all or nothing person. Like we're either all in or we're all out. So like our house, we have no chemicals, because I just, and certainly I mean, Charles knows my mom. My mom is an all or nothing person. So I was raised, like we never were exposed to it really. I mean, with the exception of maybe until I was like 10, until maybe this hit more of like, okay, there's a connection there. My mom was on the forefront for sure. But I tend to be that kind of person, just in anything in life. I'm all in or all out. But I have to find with my clients, it's really overwhelming. They have a really hard time saying, okay, everything I was told is now wrong, and everything in my house needs to be replaced. And obviously we want to be cognizant of sustainability and budgets and moving things out slowly, but it is hard. And I think people get really overwhelmed. Like I have a client right now who just really struggles with having to piece together the things that are causing, issues with her, her lifestyle and nutrition and her diet and her kiddos. So it's pretty hard. The good thing is there's a lot of great resources. Instagram is an incredible resource. Unfortunately, I find that sometimes it does us a little bit of a disservice because there's too much information. There's almost too much noise. So like I have clients that are like, oh, well, I know I should take cod liver oil, but I read it's a PUFA. So, and I'm like, okay, just stick with the protocol. Like we'll talk about this on a separate topic. There's a lot of just, especially seed oils, to Charles' point. That's one that people really struggle with because it's in everything. I mean, it's really like, I was just looking for crackers, and even in the organic cracker set, it's like impossible to find any cracker. I think U-Kitchen was the only one that didn't have seed oils, even Simple Mills, it's like, so it's really hard, I think, to find.
I don't look at the Simple Mills ingredients list.
I know. I used to not either. Yeah.
Are you spoiling yet another food for me? Is that really kind?
I hate to do it, but it's true.
Well, what do you do, Katie, about the guilt people feel when they learn something new and they look at their past decisions, maybe including what they're feeding their kids or their spouse, and they say, oh no, what have I done?
Yeah, that's a tough thing because typically that comes up a lot. I work a lot with women on preconception, fertility, prenatal, postpartum. And that comes up a lot more so with moms who were like, oh, dang, I didn't take care of myself in pregnancy or preconception. I wasn't focused on any of this. And, I just tell them, it's, a lot of people are just starting this at, in their older years. I have clients that come to me in postmenopause that are like, oh, gosh, I feel like I'm on like the end of my, I've got a good 40 years left, but I'm just now getting started. But it's always better to start. And it always is going to be moving the needle, not only for yourself, but our world, like the work Charles is doing, like our farmers and ranchers, like that's the soul of what's going to move this whole thing forward. It's not just about ourselves, really. It's like, yeah, we want to heal ourselves, and it's a great time to start whenever you can, but it's also as a consumer to really put your money in the hands of people that are going to be making a difference long term.
I used to think I was a cool kid because I bought the cheapest possible chickens. It was $1 a pound for a cheap chicken from the cheap grocery store, and I wrote history of that sucker after marinating for a day in lemon juice and olive oil, and I felt like a champion. So here I am eating whole food, not processed food.
Right.
I'm eating it, and it was so cheap I could afford to eat. I thought I was a hero, and now I'm buying chickens from a neighbor friend who lives one peninsula that way. I went and got to see my chickens a little bit ago, and now I buy a local. And we had a duck last night from also a farm one peninsula that way, and it was just a completely different reality. So I'm curious for Charles. We talked with Katie about differing perceptions about all the ingredients and stuff, but how do you help people think about, now it's one thing to say the cheapest possible chicken is really different from a free range chicken that's been loved on a farm in the sunshine living on grass. A lot of people are getting that argument, but you're taking it one step further and saying that your skin cream matters whether the animal it came from was in the sunshine frolicking on grass to the sound of music versus in some huge structure living a terrible life. How are you helping people make that leap from free range food on my dinner table to free range products in my pantry or in my bathroom?
Sure. So I would start by saying, Brian, you were a hero then and you're a hero now.
But I was an idiot then. I look back and I think, how many years was I eating crap? I thought I was doing good. I wasn't eating pizza pockets anymore. I thought this chicken is better than Pizza Pockets, which I
Brian,
think is true.
if half of this country traded in their lean cuisines for the $1 a pound chicken tomorrow, their health would improve and they would be a hero too. The hero is a journey, right? So you're constantly progressing. It's a hero's journey. And so I just want to applaud you for that and tell you to quit beating yourself up. So yeah, we how an animal is raised is absolutely critical. Katie alluded to my farm, Mayfield Pastures. That's where we source the fat for farrow, and we're a small regenerative farm producing meat.
What does regenerative mean for folks not familiar with that phrase?
A lot of people are trying to define that term. My definition of regenerative is you put more back in the soil than you take out, or said differently, you're building soil. You have to work with the ecology to build soil. Otherwise, it erodes away and washes down into the Gulf of Mexico or wherever. And so, yeah, working with nature to build soil. That is my sort of elevator pitch for what our definition of regenerative agriculture. And so, again, these are animals, right? And so animals metabolize vitamins, minerals, nutrients. They in similar capacity or similar mechanisms to humans. And so we use Smart Lard. I've trademarked Smart Lard. It's a definitive sort of term that defines how the pigs and cows where we source our fat were raised, how they were handled, how they were slaughtered, all these things, one bad day kind of stuff, and also in a model that builds soil and doesn't erode it. And so that's critical to the consumer that's eating these meats, right? Because they're going to metabolize these vitamins and minerals, or environmental toxicity and sickness from an industrial, cramped, crowded indoor space. And so we want their fat, whether we're eating it or putting it on our skin, we want their fat to be as nutrient packed as possible.
Okay, right there. It's obvious to me what it's on my dinner table that is going to impact my gut health, my brain health, everything else. But things like I go mountain climbing, we all slather sunblock all over ourselves. We have these bright white faces from all the zinc oxide, whatever. The alternative being sunburn and death, and then we wash it off when we're done at the end of the day. My wife wears makeup, then she washes it off. Where's this idea come from that is you're equating it to a chicken on my dinner table?
I am, because your skin absorbs and consumes products that we put on our skin. For any of your listeners that have ever come across poison ivy, the oil gets on your skin. It doesn't matter when you wash it off, you're getting poison ivy, right? So the skin is constantly consuming its environment. And so, the interesting, one of the reasons I'm so passionate about this, and Katie can certainly speak to this. So we have this really intricate system, our GI tract, that's by nature designed to keep bad stuff out and bring good stuff in. A healthy gut, for your listeners that can't conceptualize this, your entire GI tract is technically outside your body, right? Just because it goes in here doesn't mean it gets in here, right? We have, for anyone that's ever eaten something that did not agree with them, you understand wholeheartedly, that things, we have an exit fast strategy out the north tunnel and the south tunnel in the event of something not agreeing with us. But the point is, you have this highly acidic environment. It's a semi-permeable, our small intestines, where we absorb the nutrients from our food into our body, is this semi-permeable membrane. So a healthy gut is only going to pull in what it wants and needs, and everything else exits down south. Our skin doesn't work that way. Now, we do have a couple of mechanisms for really toxic stuff. I mean, if you got battery acid on your arm, there would be an immediate pain and an immediate response. But again, back to the poison ivy analogy, unless you see the poison ivy and know that you just brushed up against it, you're not going to learn about that for a good 24 to 48 hours. And so the troubling part about our skin is twofold. One is the gatekeepers, the people that are charged with our public consumer safety. I would call it the FDA is the primary governing body over cosmetics. There are no rules, effectively no rules. There are 11 chemicals in this country prohibited from use in skincare. 11. By contrast, the EU has over 1,300. Formaldehyde, parabens. These are, I mean, formaldehyde is an embalming agent, and we allow that in our skincare. And so not only do we allow all this stuff in our skincare because, there's no testing. The only testing on skincare products from this Food and Cosmetic Act of 1934, the only thing they're required to test pre-market for safety are colors. Any color additive to skin, any type of skincare product, that has to go through, I'm sure, some rigorous testing. But anything else, preservatives, chemicals, none of that. And then they updated the act, I think, in 1978. I think that's right, and excluded cosmetics. So, the fox is guarding the hen house as it relates to what they allow in our skincare. And fortunately, humans are very resilient. We can take a whole lot of stuff in big doses and little doses. Skincare, it tends to manifest in small doses over time. But if you look at the nefarious effects of some of these preservatives and chemicals, parabens just as one, and how it's an estrogen signaling hormone, and this is big stuff. I mean, you're starting about.
We're gonna go grade me now. We're gonna see if I'm a good person or a bad person. Are you ready?
Okay.
We're gonna read the ingredients. I know Katie's like, this is gonna be good. Gets the pitchfork out. This is from Portland Bee Balm, and we're also beekeepers, but lip balm was a hassle to make, so we buy it. Okay, ingredients: Pacific Northwest beeswax, organic cold pressed extra virgin coconut oil, organic California extra virgin olive oil. That's the ingredients in this. Give me a rating from 10 to like good show or 1 you're about to die.
I mean, to me, it seems like I would say close to a 9. I mean,
Close
the
to
only
a 9.
thing is that olive oil, depending on the heat point. But I mean, we're getting really granular. So
Okay. I'll take a 9. Charles, what do you think? Am I about to die or am I a champion?
No, I think that's good stuff.
Good stuff. Okay. Grab some of your
I'll
smart
give
lard.
you an 8 because it doesn't have any lard in it.
I can't get anywhere. You wear the guy's hat and there's no love. Charles, grab a thing of your smart lard off the shelf. He doesn't have any handy. The lard man himself. He's going to his storeroom.
Probably well
Katie,
organized.
what's some cosmetics you have on you in your purse or something? Do you have anything in your purse, Katie?
Oh, I came really clean. All I have are my sunglasses and my phone. So
wow.
I have some in my purse, but it's not
You're
here.
fantastic.
I know.
Okay. Charles, what do we got? Read us the ingredients.
This is our unscented skin food. And good Lord, I might need actually, I have the ingredients memorized, but I will pretend that I'm reading them.
For the sake of theater, would you care to read them?
Lard, tallow, leaf lard, and honey.
What was that third one?
Leaf lard.
I don't know what that is.
Okay, so with all mammals, you have 2 forms of fat. You have visceral fat and subcutaneous fat. So belly fat is subcutaneous. It's just underneath the skin. Visceral fat, in the case of a pig or a human or a cow, visceral fat is an internal fat.
Okay.
Leaf lard is the rendered fat of it's kidney fat on a pig, and one of the reasons that they are different is the leaf fat, the kidney fat's function is padding, right? So from a metabolic standpoint, a pig absorbs vitamin D from the sun. It's going to store it in its subcutaneous fat because that's the storage mechanism. That's the storage organ for fat. Visceral fat is just padding. So leaf lard is colorless and odorless, which is why it was prized as a baking fat at the turn of the century and many years prior, because it doesn't impart flavor or taste to the pastry or the bread. We use this is our skin food, so it's located neck down on the body, and so we use a higher concentration of lard. We use both leaf lard and lard in all of our formulations, but we use a higher concentration of lard in our skin food and a higher concentration of leaf lard in our face food, just because it's up around the nose on the face. So
I did not know that. Fascinating. Huh.
Yep.
Okay, let's get close to wrapping up here. Katie, can you tell us more about you say functional nutritionist? I have some clues to what a nutritionist is. They tell you what to eat and what not to eat.
Mhm.
What does functional nutritionist mean?
Functional nutritionist just takes it a little bit of a step further. So when I graduated with my master's in nutrition, my focus was I wanted to be able to help people, obviously, like guide them in what to eat, supplements, lifestyle, those things. But I also wanted to have the option to read and interpret labs, draw tests like the Dutch test, do hair tissue mineral analysis tests, and just be able to take it a step further and not so much, obviously not diagnose or treat because that's not my designation, but be able to be more functional in the sense that I can actually help someone in their journey. And specifically, the reason I did this was really for women's hormone health, because a lot of times you have to look at the thyroid pretty in depth via labs and, things like the Dutch test looking at cortisol and adrenal function. So the functional, aspect has made a big difference for me just in being able to take it a step further beyond just kind of the initial forefront.
How does someone know if they need to find a functional nutritionist and talk to them?
I think typically, I work alongside a lot of like OBs and midwives that are more naturally focused. Obviously, I'm new to Tennessee, so my network is predominantly in Denver and Boulder, Colorado, but I'm working on establishing more here. But I think a lot of times, I find that people come to me because they are kind of looking to take it beyond just like, I'm looking to lose 20 pounds. They have some pretty dire issues, whether their hormones are out of whack, they're not sleeping, they're not able to conceive. There's things kind of at play there. So I think they kind of know, and it is kind of a new phenomenon. I think there are more functional nutritionists now kind of coming on the scene because there's more programs offered. The only caveat with it is it's kind of tricky because, going back to like the FDA, for instance, a lot of registered dietitians, which I am not, I'm on the other side, I have an MS in nutrition and then have done these additional programs which have certifications of their own, but they're like certifications, they're not really, on the FDA model, they're not registered dietitians. So there's a lot more resources like that, but it kind of has to be the right client that comes along because some people want to work in a clinical setting with a registered dietitian and, they can kind of only take you so far. And then sometimes I find that those clients come my way.
That's fascinating. I just have a million questions, but it's it's so hard to know what to eat when there's an infinite supply and it's only getting worse as more food products show up. Like I learned about a new kind of lard today and I thought I was fairly well educated. Like, nope. It's just wild. Charles, tell us a bit about who Pharaoh is for. What kind of people need to go be using Pharaoh?
Goodness, it's for everybody.
I was gonna say, don't say everybody.
I can't say everybody. Well, I mean, we're talking about child skin care and child skin health. Any new mom that's, so let me back up. We've talked about some acute issues and some chronic issues. Kate, with chronic stuff like the eczema and psoriasis and cheilitis and some of these things that are more chronic and ongoing. There's work to be done from Katie's field of expertise on nutrition to really address the underlying causes of those type things. In that situation, though, I think Pharaoh offers a very, very clean and effective, I'm going to call it, I can't say treatment, but just assistance, relief from the symptomatic expression of some of these underlying issues. Again, new mom, I'm seeing more of this now with eczema because we're breastfeeding less now. There's way more cesarean C-sections now. There's a lot more baby formula baby formula has been a headline now for the last 6 to 8 months. And, some of the trash they put in these formulas is just, listen, I understand mom's got to do what got to do.
It's impossible, but the labels, just the corn syrup solids is one of the first ingredients.
It's laughable what is in that, in some of these baby formulas. And, there are some better options that are somewhat convenient. And, again, someone like Katie can point people to those. I'm here to say, I can't fix your baby formula problem, but if your child's, crying because they're covered in eczema every morning, well, here's something that's at the very least gonna not hurt. I say our creams are great because of what's in them and also what's not in them. And so when we and again, I'm a farmer. I've been a gym hack. I'd work in insurance. I haven't taken a deep dive on much of anything like Katie has, but I do understand enough about nutrition and I do understand enough about hormones to say that we don't know the first thing about how nefarious a lot of the chemicals that they allow in our skincare and our food are on human health. And I alluded to this earlier. Fortunately, we are a very resilient species. We can handle a lot of garbage, as evidenced by we're still here. But Pharaoh gives someone an option. And again, we're sort of here talking to new moms or expectant moms. Don't be putting stuff on your kid's skin or your skin that's going to jack with their hormones, that's going to dry out their skin. Most conventional skincare products are 75% water. Well, water dehydrates your skin. People don't understand that, but it does. And so I would say I'll give you two clients, two customers. I'm talking to new moms out there. This is a great product for your kid, and I'm talking to new dads too, because razor burn's a real pain in the ass. And I can assure you that a little lard goes a long way when it comes to removing razor burn from your life.
That's fantastic. Katie, for folks who want to get in touch with you, where's the best place to find you?
Yeah, probably my website. I can be found at, my business name is Live Wild Be Well. So my website is livewildbewell.com, or on Instagram, just at Live Wild Be Well. And I have all my contact info there and a bunch of resources and blog posts and a lot of the things, Charles mentioning as well. I actually, one thing that I've really had a lot of luck with clients is building like a non-toxic first aid kit, and clients love like Pharaoh because it's perfect to put in there because they'll put it on bites. It's great for after a sunburn. So it's really neat, how moms are getting creative using these items and, using them on the day to day. So anyway, I have some resources like that. Pharaoh's included. So definitely check out the blog and other resources on Instagram too.
Love it. And then Charles, where can people go to start using Pharaoh?
Best place is our website, pharaoh.life, Life. And for the listeners that are interested, if you use the coupon code first order, we'll give you 15% off any of your orders. And if you want to jump in the water with both feet, then you can subscribe to our products on a monthly, bi-monthly, or quarterly basis, and that'll save you another 15%.
Wonderful. Thanks for joining us, folks, and may the lard be with you.
Thanks so much.